with the awareness of a self living in a world. Now this is a problem, and this is also going against the motive of continuing to live or exist. So the struggle for existence, in spite of the struggle for existence, there is also a destructive process going on. And all this is because we are not fully conscious. We are only conscious of a world and ourselves living in the world. And we are aware of other things in the world, and we become attached to these things, or we begin to hate certain things, and that is all that is going on. And but ultimately we are never really able to live forever. We die, and that death itself, we become frightened, we become worried, we become unhappy as a result. It's not only death, we begin to grow old, we begin to fall sick and die. Not only ourselves, even our relatives, or what we are attached to, our loved ones, all that is. And we also begin to depend on others, and as a child we are very much dependent, and we are dependent on the parents. But after some time we begin to realize, as we grow up, that even the parents are helpless, and then we begin to seek some other power. And that is why people think in terms of a God who is powerful, who is help us. It gives us a feeling of courage and hope, and just to keep on living. But ultimately everyone has to die, even in spite of all this. So this has become a problem. Today the modern philosophers called the existentialists, they have become aware of this problem, and they have been trying to search for a solution to this. And of course here it is the teaching of the Buddha that brings a solution to this, to realize that ultimately we are not really existing. We are only hoping to exist, and we are thinking of existence, which is not real. It is all created by our emotions, which are self-centered, and these emotions blind us, make us blind to reality, and we are mainly carried away by our emotions. And therefore the only solution is to find a way of gaining control over the emotions and calming the emotions. And that calmness of mind is what helps us ultimately to think clearly and understand the problem, and realize that there is no proper person who is existing in the world. This is only an illusion. It's an illusion of existence. So when we begin to understand this fully, we realize that this is only a dream that we are existing, and we have to awaken from this dream. And this process of awakening is what the Buddha achieved. He awoke from this dream of existence, and that is why he is called a Buddha. A Buddha is one who is awake, the awakened one. And so it was not only that he awoke, he also began to teach others how to awaken from this dream of existence. And it is at that point that we all come to an end of all the sufferings of the world. All human weaknesses, all human sufferings come to an end when the human being awakens from this dream of existence. And that is the main message of the Buddha. So the whole teaching of the Buddha is the process of evolution. But this evolution the biological evolution is really an unconscious process. But here, when the human being has become conscious, this process is not a biological evolution where the body begins to change, but this is a psychological evolution where the mind begins to change. And it has to be done consciously, not unconsciously, because it is the evolution of consciousness itself. And so, when a person begins to make the effort to evolve in this way, the Buddha has shown the way, and that is what is today called the Noble Eightfold Path. But I call that the supernormal Eightfold Way. It is supernormal because it is an effort to go beyond the normal and to become a supernormal person and a superhuman person, because all the human weaknesses disappear and ultimately the human being rises above the normal state and becomes superhuman or becomes a superman. And that state, in that state, the human being is also able to achieve certain psychic powers which are similar to what we see on the movies as Superman, but even beyond that. Now even the Superman has certain human weaknesses like falling in love and that sort of thing, but the real Superman really lived during the time of the Buddha in India, and he was able to produce other Supermen because he knew the way, which is a conscious process. And so the teaching of the Buddha becomes really the process of evolution, which is not the biological process but the psychological process of evolution, where the human being rises beyond the normal state to a supernormal state, which is becoming Superman. And not only that, even Superman is not perfect. That's not the ultimate perfection. We have to go beyond that level where the Buddha begins to become aware of what are called the Four Noble Truths, what I call the Fourfold Sublime Reality. And once we have fully realized this, when we have fully actualized this state of perfection, we become a Buddha.